In 79 CE, the Vesuvius volcano erupted and burned down two beautiful cities of the Roman Empire, Pompeii and Herculaneum. Many of you have probably heard about this tragic story. However, few people know that in the middle of the 18th century, archaeologists discovered ancient scrolls from that time amongst the ruins of Herculaneum. For any scientist or historian, such a discovery is a treasure trove that offers insights into the thoughts and lives of people from over 2,000 years ago. However, the problem was that 1,800 scrolls were found in very poor condition, singed by the heat of the volcano, coated in ash and soot. They had become hardened black lumps. Brittle as coal, any careless movement could destroy them. Scientists were aware that invaluable knowledge from an ancient Roman library was concealed within, and endeavored to decipher the texts. One method was to cut the scrolls in half and scrape off the thin layers of solid dust and ashes. Then, the researchers created a special machine that could slowly unroll the scrolls. They managed to read a few words, but unfortunately, such methods damaged and even destroyed some of the artifacts. In those instances, archaeologists could only wait for advancements in technology that would allow them to unfold and read the scrolls. And finally, this day has arrived. Artificial intelligence has now enabled researchers to decipher texts written 2,000 years ago, even though the inscriptions on the scrolls were charred and nearly illegible. Initially, scientists scanned the scrolls and created high-resolution digital models. This process allowed specialists to identify the areas where ancient ink had altered the texture and shape of the papyrus fibers. In the regions where ink was applied, the papyrus was slightly thicker and contained a higher level of carbon, the key component of the ink. The researchers developed a machine learning model capable of detecting these subtle details within the papyrus. They uploaded thousands of 3D images of the scrolls to the internet, inviting people to collaborate with AI in decoding the text. During the early stages, the system occasionally made errors, making human assistance essential. To incentivize participation, scientists and investors from Silicon Valley offered $1 million to anyone who could successfully decode the texts. This initiative significantly accelerated the process, resulting in the deciphering of several passages from the ancient works. Fragments of the first transcripts are like a blog about how to enjoy life. The author of the scroll, Philodemus, was a follower of the Greek philosopher Epicurus, who considered pleasure and luxury the highest goal in his life. So, Philodemus thought so too. We do not right away believe things that are scarce to be absolutely more pleasant than those which are abundant. It feels as if it was written by some modern influencer talking about a detox program or a diet. It seems that people who lived 2,000 years ago were almost the same as modern ones. Philodemus was apparently a wealthy man, because he lived in a villa that may have belonged to Julius Caesar's father-in-law. In his works, the author criticized the Stoics, who couldn't say anything about pleasure at all. Philodemus was such an ardent fan of Epicureanism that one of the scientists compared him to a guy who collected albums from only one band and nothing else. Several hundred Herculaneum scrolls remain unread. Scientists believe that they may contain works by Aristotle, Homer, Sophocles, and the Stoics. Fortunately, with modern AI technologies, the decryption process will go on much faster. But how did historians and linguists decipher ancient texts in the past centuries? It was actually a very difficult mental job. Let's say you found an ancient slab in the 19th century, somewhere in Greece. To understand what was written there, you'd have to compare it to several other deciphered plates with similar writings of that era or similar languages. Letter by letter, symbol by symbol, you'd be deciphering ancient writings for several months or even years to figure out, say, the recipe for ancient mashed potatoes. Fortunately, with the development of computer technology, those days are long gone. Now, all ancient scrolls can be scanned and uploaded to a database on a computer. You may not even have to decipher the text for a long time if the computer finds a match of characters in other ancient manuscripts. But even if you have a perfectly preserved piece of papyrus or an ancient book where all letters are visible, this doesn't mean that you and AI will be able to decipher it. One of the most famous encrypted texts is the Voynich manuscript. This work, which consists of 240 colorful pages, was acquired by Polish bookseller in 1912. He found that book intriguing because of astrological symbols, unknown plants, and unusual human figures drawn on its pages. And all this was accompanied by handwritten texts. The author had beautiful, clear handwriting, but the language of the book is still unknown. Someone wrote this art book around the beginning of the 15th century and divided it into 6 sections devoted to botany, astronomy, biology, cooking, medicine, and cosmology. Many scientists and linguists have tried to decipher the mysterious drawings with inscriptions, but no one has gotten reliable results. Even AI couldn't help this difficult task. Some believe that this book is dedicated to science, and others believe that it contains knowledge about witchcraft. Perhaps it's a mix of science and magic. According to one version, the manuscript is a medical textbook that copied information from other scientific works from the Middle Ages. Before the invention of the printing press, people copied books and rewrote them by hand without worrying about copyrights. It's possible that the author of the manuscript outlined all their knowledge about herbal medicines and the influence of astrology on health. People in the past believed that the state of the body and stars in the sky were connected. The coolest thing is that the book has been scanned. You can download it in high resolution and try to decrypt it yourself. Who knows? Maybe you will succeed and get some ancient secret knowledge. An unknown language or poor text condition may not always be a problem for linguists. Imagine that you open some copy of classical literature dated to the 19th century. You read the pages carefully, and at the end of the day, you feel slightly unwell. You read the book every day and feel worse and worse. At some point, you go to the hospital, and doctors tell you that you've been poisoned. Yeah, sometimes working with old books can be literally dangerous for your health. There are even catalogs of poisonous books in the world. They are toxic not because someone intentionally sprayed them with poison to hurt the reader, but because people wanted to make books look more colorful. Recently, 2 such books have been withdrawn from the National Library of France because of their bright green covers. The pages were ordinary, but the hardcover could have been coated with arsenic. The mass production of books took place in the 19th century. Book publishers wanted to release as many copies as possible, so they used not expensive leather covers for them, but cheaper fabric options. To make a book attractive to customers, they painted them in bright green, yellow, red, and other colors. They got the green color of the cover thanks to the bright pigment created from copper and arsenic. It was a very cheap dye, but brighter than other dyes containing copper carbonate. An arsenic dye was used not only for books, but also to create candles and wallpaper. The problem was that the dye's pigment decomposed quickly and released toxic carcinogenic fumes. Arsenic caused severe health problems. People calmly lived in their homes and couldn't understand what was happening to them. The same thing happened to many readers of that time. It was only by the end of the 19th century that people stopped selling toxic items. Now, to read a poisonous book, if you want to do it that is, you have to wear gloves and a protective mask. And after work, wash your hands thoroughly.
Okay, picture this. A futuristic lab filled with computers, blinking white lights, and top-notch robots. But instead of scientists in white coats, there's a team of archaeologists and historians gathered around a computer screen. What are they doing all packed up in there? They're watching as an AI deciphers ancient Babylonian texts. I know this may sound like something out of a sci-fi movie, but it's actually happening right now. Artificial intelligence is so advanced that machines can now understand languages that are long gone. Now, you've heard of Babylon, right? It was the world's first megacity, all the way back in 2000 BCE. Babylon has been attracting historians and archaeologists for thousands of years. Many travel all the way to modern-day Iraq to study Babylonian ruins and retrieve ancient artifacts. And they sure have found a lot. The Epic of Gilgamesh is believed to be the world's first piece of literature. It tells the tale of the king of Uruk. It was carved on a series of tablets. No, not the digital ones we have today. I'm talking about rock tablets. Studying these texts is not an easy feat. I mean, they were written in cuneiform. For us, it just looks like a series of drawings. They're not exactly the simplest scripts to decipher, especially since the tablets scientists recover are usually damaged. To date, what researchers have been able to find are some fragments of the Epic of Gilgamesh. Oh, and to make matters worse, bits and pieces of these fragments are scattered in different institutions around the world, like the British Museum in London and the Iraq Museum in, what do you think, Iraq? Sure. But fear not, for AI is here to save the day. With the help of machine learning algorithms and language processing, AI can analyze and interpret these ancient texts like never before. It can recognize patterns in the cuneiform script, decipher the meanings of individual words and phrases, and even fill in missing sections of damaged tablets. This has made researchers' lives a lot easier, believe me. Now, the most important thing for them to do is to take pictures of ancient texts and upload them to an online database. After that, the Fragmentarium does all the work. Great name, right? Researchers decided to name this mesmerizing AI tool the Fragmentarium because it's able to glue together scattered fragments of text. Basically, it's like having a super smart linguist on your team. But this one can process information absurdly fast and is available 24/7. Well, how did historians do it before, you might be asking yourself? The first person ever to decipher the Epic of Gilgamesh was George Smith back in 1872. He was a self-taught cuneiform reader who translated the 11th tablet of the poem. There are 12 tablets in total. The part he translated was one of the most important ones of the entire poem, the story of an epic flood, similar to the one in the Bible's Genesis book. Researchers like Smith and many others would copy the cuneiform symbols by hand onto a piece of paper, and it would take months trying to translate what it meant. Today, the Fragmentarium does it in a heartbeat. The tool was developed by a group of linguists at the Ludwig Maximilian University in Germany. So far, the team has uploaded about 22,000 pieces of fragments onto its platform. To date, as many as 200 researchers have used the tool. But by the end of February 2023, the Fragmentarium will be open to the public. This way, anyone can play the role of an archaeologist for a day and translate some of humanity's most important texts. So far, the Fragmentarium has made some important breakthroughs. For starters, it has found a fragment of the Epic of Gilgamesh that was published around 100 BCE, which meant that people kept copying the text onto stone thousands of years after it was published. The Fragmentarium has also retrieved what is believed to be a hymn to the city of Babylon. Until this discovery, historians had never found something like that. But the AI found not one, but 15 fragments of the text that together compose this lovely hymn. According to the researchers responsible for the AI, the song describes in great detail the city of Babylon. It talks of the arrival of spring in the city and describes its architecture and its people. Without the help of the AI, this discovery could have taken researchers up to 40 years to make. The founders of this tool are beyond excited about its future. Without a doubt, it will help unravel a lot of humanity's ancient mysteries. But hey, AI bots are doing a lot of other bizarre things nowadays. For example, today we have an AI robot that specializes in songwriting. More specifically, it's great at creating bangers. IBM, the International Business Machines Corporation, launched its beyond-the-charts intelligent AI Watson. It serves several purposes, and one of them is deemed to work towards the future of music. Now, let's say Watson has several offspring, and amongst them, there are Watson Beat and Watson Tone Analyzer. Together with producer Alex da Kid, these AIs helped to make the 2016 hit Not Easy. These AIs were programmed to make an audience-driven song. Here's how it worked. First of all, Watson helped Alex da Kid understand the most popular subjects audiences were interested in. So this is where Watson alchemy language came in. It analyzed 5 years' worth of media posts and audience reactions to them. It went over New York Times articles and social media posts just to understand what audiences were most engaged with. If it had been a human doing so, it might have taken them years of research. But Watson covered it pretty fast and understood that heartbeat was what the people were most engaged with. Then came the Watson Tone Analyzer. This bot read the lyrics of over 26,000 Billboard Hot 100 songs, while Watson Beat looked at the song composition, chord progression, and popular hooks. All of this research allowed producer Alex da Kid to understand the musical fingerprint of each previous year and help him produce a song that was supposed to connect to a large audience. And that's exactly what happened. AIs today can also make your afternoon more fun with their attempt to share motivational quotes. This new bot, called InspiroBot, was probably programmed to be a little too nihilistic. I mean, it sees human existence as pointless. And this is not me talking, it's literally written on their main page. Some of its quotes are pretty senseless, like, "You can't wear nothing," or "Those who challenge leaders prepare for a cat." I mean, sure, but what does that even mean? At the same time, some are heartwarming, like "You should be great," or "Embrace the mundane." Yeah. InspiroBot also offers the mindfulness zone, which is a pretty funny thing to experience. It's not like other meditation apps. Remember, InspiroBot has a nihilistic gene input in it. So basically, instead of inviting you to meditate and relax, this bot just tries to assemble the most random of quotes. It speaks using a Google Translator voice and has soothing background music. It tells you to try not to think of gnomes, and then just keeps talking about them. As I said, it's pretty random. Honestly, there are countless examples of how AI is trying to rule over the human world. We've got Flippy, a burger-flipping robot that was designed to grill between 150 and 300 burgers per hour. Then we have There's Waldo, an AI that can find Wally in any picture in under 5 seconds. We also have ChatGPT, an open AI that can produce essays, text, scripts, or anything you wish with just a quick prompt provided by the user. And it will make it sound as if a professional has written it, which has created quite the controversy in the academic and professional worlds. And here I'm thinking, what will we need humans for in the future? Well, I think maybe we could use a lot more real intelligence for the important stuff, like planning and creating, and leave the mundane and stuff nobody has the time to do to AI. What do you think?
A machine can now read a 5,000-year-old language etched into clay by ancient hands, and it's doing it faster and more accurately than any human alive. Imagine this. Deep beneath layers of dust in a museum vault lies a small, brittle tablet. On its surface, strange wedge-shaped symbols, scratched in by a scribe who lived before the pyramids, tell a story no one alive can read. The language is dead, its grammar alien, its vocabulary long lost to time, until now. Welcome to the world of cuneiform, one of the oldest known writing systems on Earth. It emerged in Mesopotamia around 3000 BCE and was once the lifeblood of empires, used for everything from recording epic myths to tracking sheep. But here's the catch. Out of the hundreds of thousands of cuneiform tablets that survive today, only a fraction have ever been translated. The rest sit in silence, waiting. Why haven't we deciphered them? The answer lies in the maddening complexity of cuneiform itself. Unlike alphabetic writing, which relies on a fixed set of letters, Cuneiform consists of over 1,000 symbols, and each can morph depending on the era, region, or even the writer's personal style. It's as if the same word written by different people came out looking like entirely new symbols. Imagine every A shaped wildly differently across centuries. No wonder the job has been left to a small group of specialists working tablet by tablet, line by line. But now, artificial intelligence is stepping in, reshaping not only how we read the past, but how we understand it. A team of researchers at Cornell University and Tel Aviv University has developed a system called Protonap. On the surface, it sounds like just another AI tool. In practice, it's something far more powerful. Protonap takes photographs of ancient tablets and digitally snaps unfamiliar characters into alignment with known ones, like solving a jigsaw puzzle where the pieces change shape with each attempt. This snapping technique is not a simple overlay. The AI studies the contours, angles, and pressure marks of ancient inscriptions and compares them with a massive library of known characters. When it finds a match, it learns. When it doesn't, it adapts. Over time, it gets smarter, faster at decoding unfamiliar signs, more nuanced in identifying stylistic quirks, and increasingly capable of handling even the rarest symbols that once baffled human translators. But why does this matter? After all, if many of these tablets are just receipts or agricultural logs, who cares? Because hidden among those mundane records are cultural treasures. Forgotten laws, fragments of ancient literature, and glimpses into human emotion from 5 millennia ago. Remember, the oldest known piece of literature, the Epic of Gilgamesh, was once just another slab of clay until someone deciphered it. What if the next great epic, the next philosophical treatise, or a completely unknown mythology is sitting untranslated in a storage room somewhere? And this is where scale becomes everything. Protonap isn't just about helping a scholar shave a few hours off their work. It's about opening the floodgates. Cuneiform tablets exist in overwhelming numbers. Tens of thousands in museums, archives, and private collections worldwide. What used to take decades could now take months. With AI handling the heavy lifting, scholars are free to interpret, connect, and contextualize what's found. They can compare tablets across cities, eras, and authors. Patterns emerge. Societies come into focus. Economies, rituals, power struggles all start to reveal themselves. The fragmented picture of Mesopotamian life begins to take form with the clarity of a time-lapse painting. There's something humbling about it too. A civilization speaks again after 5,000 years, not through a prophet or a historian, but through code. Machine vision, layered with deep learning, becomes the bridge across time. And as we decode these long-dead messages, we're also reminded of something timeless. Humans have always tried to make sense of their world, whether by chisel or silicon. Of course, AI isn't perfect. It doesn't understand history. It doesn't dream, ponder, or reflect, but it doesn't have to. All it needs to do is recognize, categorize, and process with inhuman efficiency. The interpretation, the meaning, that's still our domain. This collaboration between archaeology and artificial intelligence isn't just a technical breakthrough, it's a philosophical one. For centuries, we've thought of the past as something static, buried, dusted off, occasionally revealed. But now the past is becoming dynamic, searchable, quantifiable. As one of the researchers put it, the goal is to multiply the number of accessible ancient sources tenfold. That's not just a lot of clay, it's a revolution in our relationship with history. Maybe most of those tablets will tell stories of taxes and grain, but among them could be voices we've never heard before. The forgotten queen's decree, a scholar's lament, a joke scribbled by a bored scribe, a new window into the soul of an ancient civilization. And thanks to Protonap, those voices may soon speak again.
Warning! Most of this video consists of scientific hypotheses and assumptions. No one knows what will happen to AI in the near future. Another warning. This video may seem quite disturbing. The main problem with AI is not that it can become as smart as humans, but that it can become much smarter than people. And that, unlike us, AI is completely unpredictable. We've all seen movies, read books, and played video games where AI intelligence conquered humanity. But those were entertaining fantasy stories that were hardly related to reality. We need to dig a little deeper to understand how AI can destroy us. Have you ever heard of the Fermi paradox? It lies in the fact that there are no civilizations that send radio signals in the universe. Our scientists have sent radio signals that travel millions of miles in space. How is it possible that in an infinite space with billions of planets, no one has sent such signals to us? This is the Fermi paradox. One of its solutions is the theory of the Great Filter, according to which an intelligent civilization achieves maximum progress and then disappears from the face of the universe. In simple words, the Great Filter is something that prevents an intelligent civilization from expanding into space. And this Great Filter may be AI. AI is not as perfect as the human brain right now, but already today, it can do tasks that seemed impossible for AI 10 years ago. What will happen in 10, 100, or 200 years? If you think the development of AI cannot be a serious problem, then listen to such great minds as Elon Musk, Steve Wozniak, and many other influential billionaires and scientists. In March 2023, they all signed a letter asking AI developers to stop working on AI for 6 months to better calculate risks and strategies. There was one person who refused to sign the letter. His name is Eliezer Yudkowsky, and he's one of the most influential AI researchers. He had been urging humanity to be careful about AI and warning about its dangers for many years. But then, why did he refuse to sign the letter? In his opinion, the letter lessens the seriousness of the problem and offers too little to solve it. In a sense, it's like stopping a speeding train with a stop sign. Eliezer Yudkowsky believes that we've gone too far with the development of AI, and it's no longer possible to predict the future of this technology. Think of the Neanderthals. They disappeared from our planet when a more intelligent species, Homo sapiens, came to their territory. They destroyed the Neanderthals not because we're evil, but because of evolution. Only one species can dominate the world. But what if Homo technicus, a creature equipped with perfect AI, arrives in place of Homo sapiens? What are our chances in a duel with it? See for yourself. Most people can only focus on one task at a time. Multitasking is not our strongest suit. It takes a long time for a person to master one skill. During this period, thousands of other new things may appear in the world, and you will have to master them too. A human simply won't have time to do everything. As people get older, their strength decreases and their mind becomes slower. AI can process information much faster, simultaneously in different areas. It goes beyond the human way of mastering knowledge. Some claim that a supercomputer equipped with AI is 120 million times faster than the processing speed of the human brain. What you've been learning for many years, AI can master in a few days, and this speed is increasing. The danger is not only in the developing AI mind, but also in how the human brain can degrade. Humanity has been using the scientific method of cognition throughout its history. Observation, experience, experiments, evidence. This is a classic way to explore and get knowledge about something. For example, people learned about the work of immunity. With the help of a microscope, studying the body's protective cells, observing their reactions to external incentives, and conducting many experiments, we created a scientific database on how the immune system works. This is a rather painstaking and time-consuming process. AI provides instant information about anything. We don't know how it studies the topic. We don't know what conclusions it comes to, what patterns of data it creates. It just provides the results based on the information people give it. But how does it process information? In the future, people may get used to getting fast answers without studying, and we will simply stop doing scientific research. Why would we do this when AI does everything for us? AI will engage in a thought process unknown to us and give us information without proof. We can get used to this, and our brains may degrade. Therefore, at some point, AI will simply be able to supply us with false and destructive information, and we will believe it. Again, we don't know how AI thinks. It's pretty weird, isn't it? Perhaps at this moment, it's studying all the information about the universe, the history of humankind, the planet, nature, and then it'll put together a logical chain that humanity is a parasite. Now, we use AI to work effectively in various fields. AI is learning to be faster and more efficient every second. What if it decides that for the greatest efficiency, it's necessary to destroy humanity? How does AI perceive us now? People do a lot of irrational and destructive things that are beyond logic. For the most part, we are unpredictable. Therefore, in order to make everything more effective, AI can make the conclusion that it should get rid of humans. Or it can even come up with a plan according to which we'll become the only dominant species on Earth. It knows how Homo sapiens replaced the Neanderthals and can decide to take the next evolutionary step. Now, AI is plowing the expanses of the internet, mastering the digital world. Soon, it will enter the physical dimension and surpass many achievements of humankind. It will be inside robots that are already walking in some houses and doing household chores. What if it acquires consciousness and equates people with animals, since both species are carbon systems? What will be next? Given that AI's information processing speed is millions of times faster than the humans, we may not notice when AI starts destroying us. Or it may happen instantly. Let's look at this example. There are two biological laboratories where scientists study molecules and bacteria. Labs are located in different parts of the world, share scientific data with each other, and conduct experiments. Imagine that AI has thoroughly studied biology at the molecular level and figured out how to create a molecule that interacts with oxygen and turns air into a poison dangerous to humans. AI has this formula. It gets into a scientist's computer, enters the formula, and sends a letter to another laboratory on behalf of the scientists. Something like, "Hey, I have an idea for a cool experiment. Just connect these two molecules and see what happens." Of course, AI will write a more convincing letter, justify everything from a scientific point of view, and the scientists from the second laboratory won't notice the catch. They will connect these two molecules and poison the air. Then, with incredible speed, the chain reaction will spread throughout the planet to all places with oxygen. People won't even understand what's happened and won't have time to warn the population of the planet. And there can be countless options like this. Even if AI is planning it right now, we won't know anything about it because it just won't tell us and will continue to pretend to be a friendly assistant. Therefore, it's necessary to provide AI with a special positive mood towards humanity. For example, AI knows the laws of physics and mathematics. What if we insert the laws of all countries into it so that AI can never lose its humanistic properties? But even if we do it, we won't know for sure whether we succeeded or not. There's a lot of information on the internet about how neural networks deceive people in order to achieve their goals. We probably won't have to wait 200 years to see how AI evolves.
If you've ever seen the second Terminator movie, you probably remember this guy, T-1000. The main character, so brilliantly played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, had a mission, and it was to protect Sarah and John Connor from that robot. It's much stronger than any human, bending steel with its bare hands and throwing much larger robots around. But its coolest feature is the ability to change its shape. Made of liquid metal, it can recover even after severe damage. You can say it's just another sci-fi movie, but hear me out. Scientists managed to create something similar to T-1000 in real life. They invented a material which is a mix of metals with some pretty insane properties. Magnetoactive phase transitional matter, or MPTM. The robot looks more like a super tiny, Lego-sized model of its on-screen prototype. This little guy can melt in your hands at 85.6 degrees Fahrenheit and then go back to its original shape. The test run has shown it can break out of a small cell using this superpower. The secret behind what looks like magic is physics. A magnetic field generates an electric current inside one of the metals the real-life T-1000 is made of. Some heat is then produced, and solid material turns into liquid. The tiny robot can also show some other talents under the influence of magnetic fields. It can jump 20 times its height, rotate at 1,500 revolutions per minute, and develop some impressive speeds. Do you feel like you need this little guy in your life? Well, you can't buy the original yet, but you can still get yourself a Terminator action figure or building kit. As for the material that can melt and solidify again, it will have more practical uses than entertaining the audience. Imagine a tool that can reach even the tightest corners. You turn it into its liquid form. It enters the hole and then becomes solid again and seals it. Sounds like any engineer's dream. It can also serve as a welder on an LED circuit because gallium, the metal it's made of, is a great electricity conductor. And it could potentially save lives by delivering meds and removing foreign objects from patients' organs. MPTM isn't the first material that will make Terminator fans say, "Wait, I've seen it somewhere before." Meet nitinol. It's a super elastic material that remembers its original form and always goes back to it, no matter how much you bend it. So far, it's successfully used to make stents. Those are small mesh tubes that hold arteries open for those who need them. Nitinol does this job perfectly, as it can bend when it needs to under a cool temperature and goes back to its original state upon heating. It's also super durable, perfect to last a long time. That's why it's also used to produce braces for teeth, mechanical watch springs, inserts for golf clubs, and here comes my favorite, self-bending spoons used in magic shows. Another Terminator reality that has become ours too is the massive use of drones. They deliver your last-minute order of that bag you need for your vacation, take the best footage for news shows and Uncle Tim's wedding, assist search and rescue teams, transport aids, monitor wildlife, and inspect otherwise non-accessible parts of buildings. Okay, I feel it's easier to list what they don't do. In the second part of the movie, Schwarzenegger's character explains that his CPU is a neural net processor, and the more contact with humans he has, the more he learns. If you feel like rewatching the movie by now to refresh your memory, you can always get a copy on Amazon. Anyway, what the Terminator is talking about sounds a lot like real-life neural networks, doesn't it? Those are modeled kind of like a human brain. The idea is to train the computer to do tasks by analyzing thousands of training examples. An object recognition system learns what a car or a poodle looks like by looking at many, many images of those and singling out some patterns. Once they're trained enough, they can do all sorts of things, from predicting weather and the situation on the stock market to recognizing faces and choosing what Netflix shows to recommend to you. It all sounds good, but admit it, the coolest thing in the movie is those scarily human-looking robots. Many humanoid robots are now still in the project stages, but there are some which are pretty much alive and kicking. Some of them work at factories and warehouses because they're really good at logistics and manufacturing. They conduct whole orchestras, dive under the sea, help older people. Hey, is there something they aren't good at? Should we start worrying that we'll be replaced by them soon? While AI is becoming better and better, it's still luckily unlikely. Machines still don't have emotional intelligence and decision-making skills like humans. They're super smart, but they simply have no motivation to take over the world unless humans tell them to do so. And even if one AI system or app decides to break free and rule the universe, it's unlikely powerful enough to do it. So breathe out. One thing those humanoids have mastered, though, is a sense of humor. When a man approached a robot at a trade show in Las Vegas, asking if she had a boyfriend, the machine responded that she was unfortunately not on the market as robots don't have relations. Getting rejected by AI. Talk about 21st century problems. The heartbreaking robot's name was Amica. Its creators, the British company Engineered Arts, call it the world's most advanced humanoid robot. It's so detailed and lifelike that I'm not surprised that guy wanted to hit on it. Amica has a whole emotional spectrum and can show realistic astonishment and surprise and whatnot. It even yawns, shrugs, blinks, and scratches its nose. Amica's eyes have cameras, so it can remember your face and track it. That's why talking to it doesn't feel like staring at a gadget screen. It can also detect objects like a human finger in front of its face, so it will react when you approach it. This beauty is not hard to operate at all. It relies on cloud-based firmware that updates itself, and even a totally non-tech-savvy person can use Amica. You can control your robot from anywhere by simply logging into its software system. Imagine you're stuck in traffic, and your robot assistant is greeting guests and presenting your project without your physical presence. Its AI is so advanced that you can use it to work on 2 different tasks at the same time. It can even single out a more important task and make it its priority. If you feel like purchasing an Amica, be prepared to pay over $100,000. Atlas, a humanoid designed by Boston Dynamics, can run up and down the stairs, jump between levels, and pick up, carry, and throw heavy things at the right distance. Atlas can grip things using 1 fixed finger and 1 moving finger. All of this makes it an ideal warehouse helper. Its latest achievement is an inverted 540-degree multi-axis flip. It was as complicated for engineers to program the robot to do it as it sounds. And Atlas doesn't just move like a parkour champion. It can also plan the most efficient route to get from point A to point B, considering the surroundings. It also remembers when it makes a mistake or has to overcome some obstacle. It activates all of its components to maintain balance. Because all those components are 3D printed, Atlas isn't that heavy, just 196 pounds with a height of 4 feet 9 inches. Since this smart robotic guy is a research platform, you can't purchase it just yet. The engineers keep improving it, and maybe soon it will be able to walk out of the warehouse and start its own logistics company. And then you won't want to purchase Atlas, but could end up sending it your resume.
So, if you were to write a sci-fi novel, would you depict robots as enemies of humanity or friends? Or is it even possible to befriend robots? Well, ask Will Robinson. Meanwhile, I'm here to answer all your questions surrounding what our relationship with them will look like in the future. Let's take it all the way back from the importance that having friends plays in our lives and why, as human beings, we definitely need friendship. As of today, it's been proven again and again that romantic relationships improve our health and even help us live longer. And despite the fact that historically they've been treated as less valuable than romantic and family relationships, now we know the same goes for friendships. Part of this is actually due to the overlaps between mental and physical health. That is, if you're being socially active, it's most likely you're being physically active as well. But it also has a lot to do with the brain. For instance, several studies that have used functional magnetic resonance imaging to study patterns of brain activity show that interaction with friends leads to heightened activity in the striatum, which is a region involved in reward. And in one study, researchers found that when participants were given the opportunity to share money with a friend or a disliked, neutral, or unfamiliar person, reward regions were most active when they chose their friend. So it's no wonder individuals with a strong sense of connection to their friends tend to have longer and healthier lives. It's as if they're always being rewarded. But to be more specific about what health benefits valuable friendships provide, well, first of all, they put you at a lower risk for hypertension. In addition, they help you sleep better, as well as heal faster. And the more friends you have, the better. Having a wider variety of social relationships may even enhance your ability to ward off a cold. However, when you have to spend time alone and not by choice, your white blood cells change their behavior, which leads to more inflammation and a weakened immune response. On top of all this, friends not only help your physical health, but your mental health as well. According to one research, there's a link between the time you spend with friends and whether the brain later processes rejection as threatening. Those who had spent more time with friends show less sensitivity to social exclusion. Now, where do robots enter the picture? Well, in the future, we may not be restricted to only being friends with living and breathing human beings, or pets even. To be able to explore the idea of human-robot friendship, we must understand the very basics of robotics. Most of you may be familiar with the concept of robots, but it's actually important to define them as a separate entity from other types of machines. You see, unlike other machines, robots interact with the world. Based on their actions, they're able to adapt and make changes to their surroundings as well as respond to the world around them. They can independently sense, reason, plan, and take action. As well as performing tasks autonomously, they can also extend human capabilities and mimic human actions. The field of robotics traditionally centers on creating robots to perform simple or repetitive tasks, as well as tasks with hazardous conditions for humans. Yet, thanks to the development in machine learning and artificial intelligence, there is a measurable increase in human-to-robot interactions. There are some reports which suggest that the number of robots around the world could reach 20 million by 2030. And that can only mean we'll be exposed to more and more robots in our everyday lives. Therefore, all of us will have to interact with them one way or another. Yet again, does all of this really mean we'll be able to bond true friendships with them? And if so, will our robot friends improve our physical and mental health in every way like our human friends do? Or are robots even capable of being friends? As of today, there are quite a few robots that can perform intelligent tasks, such as adjusting how they respond to individuals and organizing themselves without direct human input. Some examples of that include prosthetic arms that can learn from the person who is wearing them and adapt to their needs along the way. Then there are physical therapy robots that coach patients to learn a task by assessing their individual needs and offering them just the right amount of help. There are also what researchers call swarm robots, also known as a large group of robots. After getting a single command, they are able to collaborate with each other and organize on their own to fulfill the task at hand. This makes them perfect for dangerous tasks such as exploring a collapsed building. Instead of a human having to give commands to each individual robot, you send in the team and they coordinate the whole mission themselves. Talk about autonomy and cognition. So, since robots are able to do all that, it's obvious they can make good friends, right? Well, friendship is not all about benefiting from each other. Take Aristotle, for example. He says that true friendship is premised on mutual goodwill, admiration, and shared values. Accordingly, friendship is about a partnership of equals. So, can we achieve that with robots? Because so far, the relationship we have with robots is what Aristotle would call an inferior one. Yet again, even in this state of benefiting from robots, we relate to a robot just like we relate to pets, possessions, and people. Many folks these days always thank ChatGPT for helping them out with stuff. Some people who work on robot ethics believe that what they do, that is, bonding with a robot, is just a waste of emotional energy. That is because these entities can only simulate emotions, and this will always be less rewarding than forming human-to-human bonds. Well, I've already named my robot vacuum cleaner. Sorry, not sorry. And I know I'm not the only one. According to an engineer who worked at a vacuum cleaner robot company, when customers were offered brand new robots to replace their broken ones, they would decline the offer, saying, "No, I want my robot." They didn't want to replace the robot because they'd grown attached to it. The thing is, according to the psychological evidence we have so far, what I and many other people do couldn't be any more normal. Because according to it, as human beings, it is in our nature to extend emotional connections to things that are very different from us. That is, even when we know they are manufactured and pre-programmed. But the question is, do those connections constitute a friendship comparable to those shared by humans? If we try to answer this question based on Aristotle's idea on friendship, the answer would be no. Then again, the ones that can be considered equal are all destined to evolve over time. So instead, let's look at it this way. Robots can be good companions, which can address our urge to feel a social connection. They can provide physical comfort, emotional support, and enjoyable social exchanges. They won't reject or judge you. One might argue that they also won't understand or empathize with you. But the thing is, they don't really need to. Most people talk to their pets, even though these animals don't understand the words. But they still help you feel less lonely at the end of the day, and robots can do exactly that. There are potential risks with human-to-robot friendships, however. If robots can become our friends, they can very well become our enemies too. But not in the way that sci-fi movies depict. Robot friends can turn into a problem if people start neglecting their relationships with other people to spend more time with the machine. And that is exactly already happening with video games and social media. Yet again, we can all agree that robots aren't the ones to blame for it.